Hello, beautiful TikTok. Okay, day 3 of the Fear to Be Seen challenge. Here we go. So, yesterday on day 2, I spoke about people pleasing and boundaries. And I mentioned step 2 and then it cut off. Okay, so step 2. Step 2 was looking in the mirror and really looking at that and why I was people pleasing. And I realised I was people pleasing because I had this fear and I was fearful of communicating. And I asked myself, why am I fearful of communicating? And what I realised was I was fearful of communicating because I was fearful of abandonment, people leaving me because I communicated my needs. I was fearful of rejection. Again, people leaving me because I was fearful of communicating my needs. I was fearful of how people would react, of what people would think of me, how they would judge me. I was like, wow, like it's so deep, this people pleasing. So in order to feel accepted, in order to feel safe, in order to feel secure, I people pleased. And I did things I didn't want to do. Why do we do that? Why do we not go, no, I don't want to do that? But we do it. It's like, because you want to be accepted. And in a way, it's kind of like society. We do things in society in order to be accepted because we don't want people judging us and we don't want people thinking or assuming the worst of us. And at the end of the day, who gives a fuck? Right? So, the people pleasing. And I was like, okay, why am I fearful of this? So what happened was I really focused on that fear. Okay, like I feel so misunderstood, and why do I feel so misunderstood? And it was simply because I wasn't voicing and people were reacting to that. And people what people thought about that, I realized then, well, I'm reacting to people because I'm unhealed. So these people that are reacting to me, it's because they've got their own shit. Like, they're unhealed. They've got their work to do. And it's not really anything about me. It's about them. So how they react towards me is really none of my business. It really isn't any of my business. It's got nothing to do with me. So why don't I just voice what I need to voice? And if they leave, they leave. They're doing them. Good on them. Beautiful. So I was like, okay, right, let's start doing this. Let's start voicing. And the more I started voicing, the more that people started getting triggering, the more people started judging me. This fear started to release because I started to realize that it was just projections. It had nothing to do with me. Nothing. I was like, what people think of me, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know what I do. So what they think, then that's on them. Like, why am I so bothered about it? Like, why? Why do I care? And I was like, yeah, like I have no fucks. And that got to that point where the more I communicate, the more confident I felt, the more I stopped people pleasing, the more I was like, yeah, we're safe to do this. Like, I'm safe. Like, I there's no expectation on anyone, and I realised that I was also living in expectations. I was putting expectations on people, assuming that they were going to react a certain way, assuming that they were going to leave my life, and putting an expectation on that. Like, if I voice this, then I expect that they're going to do this, this, and this. It's about expectations. Why do we put expectations on things? Why do we put expectations on relationships? Why do we put expectations on life? Why can't we just be in the moment, be who we are, voice what we need, and communicate that? And how people react, how the environment reacts around you, then really it's on them. It's got fuck all to do with you. And I was like, and I noticed that I was focusing on other people's business because I was avoiding it, looking at myself. And I was like, who cares if Nora down the street got a boob job? Good on Nora. Why is that any of my business? Why is any of anybody's business who I'm in a relationship with, how my relationship is? I have my soul choices and my soul learning, and I have to learn from that relationship. What's it anybody's business what I do or who I see and where I'm going and what I have? Like, it's nobody's business. And it's not any of my business either. So the more that I started focusing in on myself and doing the inner work, I was like, no fucks. None. I stopped comparing myself to people. I stopped going, oh, look, she looks better than me and I feel so insecure and that person's not going to love me because I don't have this and I don't. Oh, come on. Like, really, the insecurities started going and the confidence started raising. And it was interesting because I was asked a question yesterday, and I was asked a question about friendships and what's friendships. And I was like, I couldn't answer. All I could share was what I do in a friendship. And I was like, and I realised where I'm still given too much. And I was like, I need to put a balance there, because I was talking about what I do in a friendships and what that looked for me, but not like on an outsider, how that looked in what that person was doing to reciprocate that. And I'm not talking about I do this for you and you do this for me. There needed to be a balance of energy with regards to that, and where I was overgiven, where I was giving my power away, and where I was like, oh, there's an expectation, and like, oh, people will think I'm not giving them my time. Who cares? Like, how that person reacts to what I do in my daily life and my business, then if they get triggered by me not replying straight away, then that's on them. And then I realised that that regards to the self-worth, it's funny, this deep people pleasing, and where I was still people pleasing. And I was like, I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, I've got all my shit together. No one on this planet has their shit together. People are still going through life. People are still learning. People are still, healing. And there's healing. There's so much healing within the world that needs to come. And me being on TikTok and facing my fear of being seen is my way of trying to assist with that. Trying to share my journey in order to help one person. And if I can help one person, then my journey has been beneficial for others. And that's the way I see things. It's not about likes. It's not about who sees it. It's putting it out there. And I just feel that the more people share their journey, the more people talk, the more people communicate. And this is a thing, like the communication is a thing for me. So I have this fear of communicating because I don't want to be misunderstood, and because, I don't want to be seen. Well, no, that's not happening anymore, because that's been going on my whole life. And I was like, and what best way to overcome that fear is share my journey and be vulnerable and be authentic and be transparent with the world. And how people to react to who I am, then that's on them. It's got fuck all to do with me. And that's the beautiful thing. That's how I stepped into this no fucks. Like, I have no fucks. I'll do what I want to do. If people don't like that, then that's on them. It's got fuck all to do with me. I'm not hurting anyone, am I? I'm not harming anyone, am I? So why am I holding myself back? Why do we hold ourselves back? Why are we so fearful of enjoying life and facing life and grabbing life by the horns? Because we're fearful of this communication. Therefore, we go into people pleasing. And I was doing things I didn't want to do in my life because I was fearful of hurting that person. I was fearful of saying no. My God, could I say no? No. I couldn't say no to people. I did things that I didn't want to do because I couldn't say no, because I was fearful of abandonment and rejection and judgment. And who am I to judge anyone? Who is anyone to judge anyone? Are you God? Do you have your shit together? Are you healed? Why are you judging? Do you know that person? Do you know what they've gone through in life? Have you heard their story? Have you heard their perspective? So what? So what, they dress differently? Good on them. They're different. Why do we have this fear of people being different, of this fear of people laughing, this fear of people being in joy? Because what I see is they're just so unhappy and they just don't know who they are. And that's beautiful. And I feel it's time for the world to step up and really start healing and really start looking at their life and where they're people pleasing and their boundaries and their lack of communication. And it's fascinating, this power play. And inner child, and the more I done the healing, and the more I started healing things from my inner child, the more that I started living in my joy, the more I could play without caring what anybody thinks. If I want to wear a rubber duck hoodie, I will. Who cares? That's life. Enjoy it. Be you.